In 2016, I was 13 years old. I was an only child living with my mom and dad. My mom worked as a nurse, and my father was a commercial real estate investor who worked a lot. I had a very normal kid's life: school, friends, video games, sports, all the normal stuff. I was never a very creative kid and never understood why other kids daydreamed in class. What did they daydream about? Why did they do it? What's the point? I always thought it was dumb. The reason I mention this is because I believe if I had been a more creative type, so much of my confusion, stress, and anxiety might have been mitigated after what happened. One night, as I lay in bed studying for a test I had the next day, I suddenly had an intense sensation that something was wrong. I mean seriously wrong, like tingles all over my body, hairs on my arms standing up. All the biological warning signs our instincts use to alert us that there is impending danger. I was stunned for a few seconds and then got out of bed. I could barely feel my feet on the floor, I was so scared. My heart was beating so fast and my head was pounding so hard that I thought I would faint. And then it was gone. All of it. I was looking all around me expecting to see something. A break-in, a fire, a car accident through the window, but there was nothing at all. I was calming down quickly now and started thinking maybe I had a panic attack. I didn't even know for sure what a panic attack was or what causes one, but it's the only thing I could think of. I climbed back into bed, and after the adrenaline wore off, I crashed and fell straight to sleep. The next morning I got up for school and went to collect my lunch that my mom usually made for me 3 days a week: Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. All the days she wasn't scheduled for work. I got to the kitchen and my mom was typing on her phone at the table. She asked me what I was doing up so early. I told her school. She suddenly looked up from her phone with wide eyes and smiled at me. She then said, "Today is Saturday. Are you going to school on Saturday?" I looked back at her confused at first, but then realized she must have her days mixed up, even though she had never gotten them mixed up before. I told her there was no school today. It's Friday. Her smile got even bigger. She tapped on her phone to open her calendar. It showed it was Saturday. I told her I think her phone's messed up, as I ran back to my room to grab my phone. I couldn't believe what I saw. Mine said Saturday as well. This terrified me. I don't get days confused, and I had just studied the night before for my test today. I started thinking maybe the panic attack thing messed with my head. It's the only answer I could think of. Since it was obviously Saturday, I told my mom I was going to go down the street to my friend Steven's house. She hesitated a second and asked, "Steven?" I said, "Yeah, Mom, I'll be home in a few hours." As I spoke the words, I was heading back to my room to grab my ball and glove, since Steven and I usually toss the baseball around in his yard. I ran past my mom squeaking, "Okay, bye." As I opened the door, oddly I heard my mom ask, "Is Steven a new friend of yours?" The door slammed behind me. I was already in full sprint, but as I ran I kept thinking about my mom's strange question. Is Steven a new friend? Mom knew Steven. We had been friends for weeks. Things were feeling very strange. I made the short sprint to Steven's house and knocked on the door. He quickly answered. It wasn't until he opened the door that I noticed his door was gray. I casually asked, "When did you guys paint the door?" He looked at me with a confused look on his face but seemed to ignore the question and ran back to his room. I followed. We hung out and played as usual, and when it got late, Steven asked me if I wanted to stay over, so I said yeah, I just got to tell my mom. I called her and told her that I would be staying the night at Steven's house, and she said okay. I asked her if she heard from Dad, and she got quiet. Then, in a softer tone, she asked, "What do you mean?" I said, "Is Dad home yet?" She took a long time to answer and then said, "Sweetie, we can discuss your father, if you like, when you come home." What a strange response. She never talks like that. I said okay and hung up. The next day I went home early, around 10 a.m. My mom was in the living room doing stretches before her run. When I went inside, she called me over and asked me to sit down. Again, very bizarre behavior for her. I asked what's up, and she began asking me why I asked about my father. Once again, her language was so strange. My father? We didn't call him that. Dad was Dad, never father. I said I was just asking if he was home yet, and she looked at me in the weirdest way I've ever seen. She then asked me if I was okay. I said yeah, why? She paused at first and then said that she hasn't known where my father was for years, and that if I wanted, we could try to reach out to him so that maybe the two of us could get to know one another. Now I had a weird, confused look on my face. I asked her if she was joking, and she said no. Maybe it's time you met your father. The pounding in my head and chest suddenly came back. I felt dizzy, like I was going to faint again. My mom saw I was breathing heavy and was obviously upset. So she rushed over to me and sat with me on the couch. She held me and kept telling me over and over, "It will be okay, I promise. It will be okay." Years passed, and I came to terms with my father not being in my life. I never attempted to reach out to this person my mom was saying was my father, because now I had realized something very profound happened to us that night. My mom didn't remember Stephen. Stephen's door was gray, not green. My dad was gone, and that was normal to everyone else but me. Over the next few months following the event, I noticed many other strange nuances that had changed. Paints being different colors, cars being different models, people remembering experiences differently, and it all just sort of became normal. I didn't talk about it because I believed there was a good chance that something was wrong with me, or at least that thing I thought was a panic attack may have affected my memory. But I'm talking about it now as a catharsis. I set up an appointment with a psychologist who insisted schizophrenia was definitely not a possibility, but more likely, I experienced a traumatic childhood event that caused the memory conflicts. I pretended to seem convinced, but I knew that wasn't the case. I lived a very normal kid's life back then. No severe psychological trauma, no abuse. I truly believe that the world ended, at least for me, in 2016.